this is such an honor. I'm so excited about this interview because we do have in our hypnosis training a lot of psychology students and occasionally psychologists, but somehow I have never taken the opportunity to actually interview somebody with your background. So the first thing that would be, of course, of interest is, so what is your background as a psychologist, and what drove you to take up the hypnosis practices training?
Thank you, Claudia, and thank you for interviewing me. What my background is, I qualified as a psychologist in 2000, which is quite a long time ago. And I worked for a very, very long time in a school context, working with counselling and educational support. I also had a part-time private practice where I was seeing to 1 or 2 patients per week. And over time, my private practice built, and I started to get involved in other kinds of work revolving around helping other people. For example, coaching, Enneagram coaching, and well, I think the focus in my life has always been around finding ways to help and empower other people. And I've always been interested in as many different modalities and theoretical frameworks and techniques possible, because every single person is different and every person responds differently to different things. And so I found over time that although my training is quite old school psychodynamic psychotherapy, which is the more in-depth psychotherapy and looks at things like the unconscious world and how it impacts on our way of being in the world today. Some people access that easier than others, and for some people it's also a very slow process and a slow journey. People don't always have the money, the time, or the patience for getting involved in that kind of work. So I really have a passion for working in that way because I find people so interesting, but it doesn't always work to only work in that particular way. So I started to explore, and my first exposure to hypnotherapy, in fact, was with past life and spiritual regression. So that's how it started for me, interestingly, which is not the kind of work one would do in traditional psychotherapy, but it's always something that interested me, and that was my first experience in hypnotherapy. And after that, all I really wanted to do was to learn more and learn how to do it for myself so I could help people in the same kind of way.
Okay. That's I didn't know that you were in this field for such a long time. So now that you know this, how does hypnosis fit within the field of psychology?
It actually fits very well. I mean, if we remember that Freud himself came from a background of using hypnotherapy, that was his original work with Hans Breuer. So after a while, and actually the reason that he did this is he wanted to delve into people's subconscious or unconscious minds. So he felt that hypnotherapy was a way to do it. He moved away from that, but that's actually where the roots of his understanding of the unconscious mind come from.
Yeah.
So it fits very well for the way I understand things. It's just a different way to actually tap into the subconscious mind. So where Freud then moved to things like free association, in hypnotherapy, you will tap into that part of a person in a different kind of way.
Yeah. So then when I hear you correctly, you say that both modalities, if I can call psychology that, and our hypnosis practice. And just to frame it correctly, we're talking here about the non-medical part of hypnotherapy, because we don't train, clinical or medical people. We do train them, but the qualification they get is non-medical. But nevertheless, what I'm hearing you saying is that both modalities work with the subconscious mind. So where's the difference, if there is any, between using hypnosis practices and using psychology to reach the subconscious mind?
A psychological therapy process would entail, generally speaking, if you're working with the unconscious mind. Okay, remember, different modes of therapy are going to use different ways of helping people. But if we're working with the subconscious or the unconscious mind, it would take quite a long time to get somebody to the point of being able to tap into those hidden motivations and understand them, and then also be able to change them. So therapy is a much, generally speaking, is a longer process and takes time and patience, and generally speaking, quite a lot of insight on the part of the individual.
Oh, yes.
Whereas,
I don't doubt that. But now that you have a really good understanding of hypnosis practices, and you understand that in order to achieve the natural state of hypnosis, we have to kind of bypass that critical faculty, that analytical, logical mind. And we have distinct ways and techniques to do that. How do you do this without these techniques? How do you I see bypassing that critical faculty as a kind of an opening of the doors into the subconscious or unconscious or whatever. Now, how do you do this? I understand that this can happen automatically because it is a natural state. And some people just have such a talent for it. They do this so beautiful. But others are not like that. And you actually need the techniques. So how do you enter those such resourceful background information where all the programs are stored? How do you get there with just psychology?
You don't always, Claudia.
Yeah.
Sometimes you access it with people when they free associate. That was Freud's original technique.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's through people's dreams, but the truth is you don't always reach it. So
Yeah.
you often are working on a very, you're right, analytical basis.
Yeah.
Working with what they bring you. And sometimes people will say something that indicates something about their unconscious mind. They don't realize it. You may realize it. But sometimes, even if you reflect to them what you hear and see, they understand it intellectually, not necessarily on a more emotional basis. So the beauty of hypnotherapy is really that you can access that part very quickly and very effectively.
Yeah.
And then work with those internal programs very successfully.
Yeah. Yes. You see, I was just looking for a metaphor, and let's say you have a car and something is wrong with the engine, but you don't open the hood. So, I mean, this is what hypnosis does. Hypnosis opens the hood so that you can look at the engine and can say, okay, I need to adjust this or fix this or replace that or whatever. and yeah, so it is as I thought it would be, that you, with your training, you can hear when your client volunteers something that could possibly stem from the subconscious. But yeah, so how does that compare then for you and for your clients when you take them in hypnosis and you can do this on purpose, and they can freely access these things? How has this changed your approach with clients, and how has this changed for clients, for your patients?
I think it's a very empowering process as a therapist to know that you have some very robust skills to be able to help people. It's a wonderful feeling, because sometimes one feels so helpless. it's marvelous. And I think for individuals who are open to the process, who would like to access that space and would like to work in that particular way, it's wonderful. Not everybody wants to, and I think there are a lot of misconceptions and fears around hypnosis. And so for some people, it's not something they want to do.
Yeah.
Remember, I get referrals both for hypnotherapy and for more mainstream psychotherapy. So, you know, those people that I have seen for a while in long-term psychotherapy, I do offer this. And for those people, you know, obviously I'm prepared to work with them in that, but not everybody wants to.
Yeah.
But it's exceptionally powerful being able to offer that kind of help.
Yeah, and this is one of the questions that I had scheduled, is to ask you these misconceptions, these unfortunate misconceptions that we inherited from history and that get renewed with movies and yeah, you know, the things we see on stage and things like that. So I do understand that the public who doesn't dive in like we do and get it, that it is a total natural state and an empowering state and a healing state just by itself, how do you address those misconceptions with your people, or don't you at all?
No, 100% I do. So the people who come for hypnotherapy per se are, generally speaking, not always, but generally speaking, very open to it already because they've come for it.
Yeah.
And sometimes it has been under coercion. But in any case, it's really important to work with somebody and understand firstly what it is, what do they think about hypnotherapy, what is their experience of it, what have they heard about it.
Yeah.
And really to address those. So to explain to them, number one, as you say, Claudia, it's a very natural state. It's a healing state. There is no lack of control. We are completely in control of what we do and how we do things. We will never do something that we don't want to do. Unfortunately, there's also so much, you know, like on Netflix and all kinds of things, of movies where they've used hypnotherapy as a sort of tool to add some kind of deception and get people to do things they wouldn't normally do. And that's just so unfortunate.
Yeah.
Because the minute you experience the trance state, you know completely how in control you are and how accessible it can be and what a beautiful space for healing it can be.
Yeah, absolutely. And that would lead beautifully into the next question. So when you had your training, tell me, when you've experienced hypnosis knowingly and you entered that state on demand knowingly or were guided into it, how was that for you?
The first, I think in the beginning it felt a bit strange because it's so different to something one expects. It feels different to what you think it's going to be. It's not this weird and wonderful space where people say, how do you get people under?
Yeah, under what?
Yeah. And there's no such thing. It's not like, you know, you're going to bash somebody over the head and then they're out, you know. But and the more times I do it, actually the easier it is to access the trance space and the more powerful work I'm able to do in that space. So it's beautiful. Sometimes I don't want to come out. It's just so lovely.
Yeah.
And anything seems possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
And coming out, I suppose, because of our post-hypnotic suggestions, one feels so empowered and so revitalized and refreshed and really able to see the world in very different ways.
It does, huh? It does. What I wanted to ask you, we'll be hopping around a little bit, but it's good. It's all good. Do you know whether there is any other training for clinical psychologists available in hypnosis in South Africa?
I don't. I know there used to be.
There used to be, no? Yeah.
But I'm not sure anymore. I haven't seen or heard about it in a long time. I think it was the Ericksonian Institute, Milton Erickson's work around. I think that was the training. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anymore. I don't
Yeah.
think so.
And do you think that this lack of opportunity for psychologists and doctors and dentists and whoever works with people and could use the benefits, because what hypnosis can help with is endless, whether it's pain control or a habit changing or reprogramming your subconscious mind. Do you think, or maybe I should ask even more general, is there a kind of a resistance with your colleagues to embrace hypnosis? I mean, the way you speak about it, you sound really chuffed. So why is not every psychologist considering doing that training?
That's a good question. I can't answer for lots and lots of people. Maybe
Sure.
they don't know about it. Maybe the stigma attached to hypnosis has put people off. I think that a lot of people who are psychologists also like to work more with the analytical, logical, conscious mind, in person. I don't know, but perhaps it has to do with lack of availability or not knowing that it's an option, and a lack of information, perhaps.
Yeah.
There's a pity, because one always has a preference with how one likes to engage and work with people, but I think that the more modalities we have at our disposal, the more we're able to help people.
Absolutely.
So some people, and it's interesting, some people are, they have many difficulties, but they're not able to talk about them. It's very hard. They're not verbal. They don't necessarily make connections between things in their mind. And so they find traditional forms of psychotherapy quite difficult and not at all helpful. So I think that, for example, hypnotherapy is lovely for somebody like that, or for something like a phobia or a compulsive behavior, or some sort of medical procedure dealing with anxiety. I had the privilege of working with somebody who was going in for some major surgery, and we worked therapeutically for quite a while, but she was very anxious about this procedure. And the truth is, there was just so much that could be done talking about her anxiety. So we did some work with hypnotherapy and helping to prepare her for the surgery and helping to aid post-op recovery. And she messaged me the other day to say that she recovered from the surgery very quickly. There was also no post-op nausea as a result of the anesthetic, and she can't believe how good she felt. And actually going in, she even managed, even though she was anxious, she managed to feel quite excited for how this was going to help her. So it was just an amazing thing to be part of.
Yeah. I had also my fair share of these, and it is quite an honor to see that you can approach these things comfortably, or at least content. You don't have to go with anxiety, and that puts extra strain on the body, So is there anything else that you are willing or can share, an example where the use of hypnosis in your practice brought faster or deeper kind of insight and change for your patient?
So working with regression work in hypnotherapy, I found to be very powerful, because, our regression work, we try and go back to the first 3 years, or even in utero work. And those are memories that people can't often access consciously. It's too far back. They were too young, and often it's pre-verbal. So they can't talk about it. And it's been quite astounding working with individuals who are sitting with some very deep-seated programs and patterns that they have no idea where they come from, and try as they may, they cannot seem to shake it or work with it. And so working with regression in hypnotherapy has been astounding. and helping people to unlock those memories and then helping to change those patterns when they're in trance space.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that they can move forward with much more positive and helpful underlying programs and patterns.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's this under the hood, the engine under the hood. Again, if you don't open the hood, you don't know what kind of engine is there and what parts of the engine would be doing good with an upgrade kind of thing,
It is an upgrade often.
Yeah.
And people need to understand we're not erasing their memories or taking them away. We are changing the way they're perceived and interpreted.
I think this is such an important aspect that you are mentioning here, because very frequently I get inquiries, can you erase a certain memory from my wherever, And I say, well, I'm sure you agree with me, theoretically, if a post-hypnotic suggestion would be accepted and the client is willing, in theory, it's possibly possible. But, but now it's still there and it's running underground, right? And now another modality might never find it. So personally, I actually find it very unethical I would never endeavor to erase somebody's memory, as nice as it may feel, the idea, the one who broke my heart or betrayed me or whatever, and I want to let go of that. There's better ways to work through this quite quickly and astoundingly, and for us to rise out of these ashes, so to speak, strong and powerful and confident. Yeah, beautiful. So maybe we can go for the last minutes we have left, going into more personal reflections. Has this training that you received with the South African Institute of Hypnotism, has this kind of influenced your understanding of the human psyche in some ways?
Yes, it's an interesting question. Yes, it has, because it's made me see that, in fact, so many of the things that are in our mind we can work with and change quite quickly.
Yeah.
So I think that's the one important thing, that it doesn't have to be a long, drawn-out process, and we don't have to suffer forever.
Yeah.
Help is available and possible.
Yeah.
And that's been a very big thing for me. I think that psychotherapy is an important and very, very valuable way of helping people. And I think there's nothing like a relationship to heal and to help. So I feel that is really important. And of course, one has that in the hypnotherapy space as well. It's a rapport, it's a trust. It's somebody that that is there to assist you in a non-judgmental way, always, and that you can always turn to.
Yeah.
And that will be as objective as possible.
Yeah.
But also that we can access some difficult things very quickly and let them go quite quickly. And I think particularly in a world where people don't have time, they very often don't have money to sit in therapy for years and years, this can be a far, far easier and more accessible way of seeking help.
Yeah. So am I understanding your method generally that you might not jump in with hypnosis unless people request that from you, but when you find you're getting resistance or stalemate or whatever, you're not getting anywhere, then you offer it. So how long into the psychology process do you take before you think, oh my God, this person could benefit from hypnosis here?
It's hard to answer because it really depends on the person I'm working with. Some people want to find ways of managing things very, very quickly. And for those people, I would probably suggest it in a quicker.
Okay. Okay.
Some people, they want to sit. They need the time. And they need the time to develop a trust and a rapport in me and in the relationship and in the experience. And that's also okay.
That also explains why, as a hypnotherapist, I usually see people that have been to psychologists, they have had all these other modalities that they tried and tried and tried, even including medication, and they're just not satisfied with the results that they get overall, especially antidepressants, for example. After some time, they find it limiting, and it reduces the quality of life for them. Yeah, wonderful.
I love parts therapy also because that also fits in so beautifully with psychological ways of understanding things. So there's internal family systems, which is a very popular method of working with people, and we look at the fact that we all have different parts of us.
Yeah.
Transactional analysis, the Eric Byrne work also worked a lot with that, and that is also a very accessible way in parts therapy to help people manage certain parts of themselves that perhaps do certain things that they are not happy with or engage in some kinds of compulsive behavior. And it's a very accessible model for people to understand.
Yeah, it definitely is.
And there's no blame, there's no shame, there's no guilt.
Yeah. And it's also what I love about parts therapy. You don't have to go and open the can of worms of the trauma, because if you've been in this long enough, and I think we both similar long, you in your and I in my modality, the trauma experience that the client doesn't remember, then don't consciously recall the trauma, and now in regression they pick it up, and in parts therapy you have a different way of dealing with it, equally as good sometimes, or most of the times, but you don't have to actually touch the actual trauma. And
I've got a situation like that at the moment, and that's exactly the person. A particularly traumatic event has sort of pushed a button on a whole lot of other trauma. But this person doesn't really want to have to talk about it all over again. It's too painful.
Yeah.
So parts therapy would be a marvelous way in to help resolve this without having to dig into all the stuff again.
Ah, fantastic. Fantastic. Let's wrap up with this quick fire round, shall we? Because they're really cool, short, crisp ones here. So, one myth about hypnosis that you would wish would disappear.
You're under the control of the hypnotherapist.
Yeah, we got X-ray eyes now. We see everything.
I mean, it would be wonderful. I'd love that, but unfortunately, it's not true.
Yeah, no. Well, I think fortunate. I think we all like to keep some secrets, ne? Yeah. Okay, next one. And we're going to have it in reverse. So, one thing psychology could learn from hypnosis.
It can be quick and easy to help somebody overcome some deep pain and trauma.
Cool. And now, one thing hypnosis could learn from psychology.
Sometimes being present and the relationship is what heals as well. You don't even need to do anything.
That's true. That's true. But we teach all the kind of rapports as well. Okay. Complete the sentence. The mind is
a very powerful and amazing aspect of ourselves.
Yeah. It's like clay. There's so much to do with it.
Marvelous or very dangerous.
It can be destroying. Absolutely.
It can be very destructive as well.
Yeah.
And you don't need to use it properly.
Yes, absolutely. It's a tool. And people feel that they're the servant to their own tool, isn't it?
Yes.
Ne?
Yes.
Yeah.
And in fact, the one thing I've learned in my own training now is how much we need to be the master of our minds. I actually didn't quite realize the power of it.
Well, then you answer basically the next question, unless you even have a better example, because I was asking you what was the one perhaps unexpected aspect that you discovered about yourself in the journey learning hypnosis practices.
Well, I think that is the answer for me, is just how powerful my own mind, and I suppose other people's by implication are in our own journey, and how it can be a force for such positive and such good, or also a force for such destructive behavior.
Yeah.
And I've learned, somebody once told me that I can be like a border collie. And, when I don't have metaphorical sheep to herd, my mind can actually be very destructive, as a border collies can. And I think that is so, that just so important. It was sort of said as a joke, but I think that's a beautiful analogy, that if we don't harness our minds and control what we allow in it and how we allow it to influence our behavior, it in fact can do a lot of damage.
Yeah. And sorry, I have to ask this question as well then. You might have started that way, that we offer since 1998. I mean, this is absolutely forever. This one-day course where people learn self-hypnosis. And the least that happens is that they start understanding what they possibly can do with their mind. And some people take this to an extent where it changed their life in some aspects. It's quite that. Would you, I'm not saying whether you do, but would you, with a good psychologist heart, recommend for people to actually learn self-hypnosis, to maybe start work with their mind better?
Absolutely. I think that anything that we can do and we can learn to empower ourselves to be better, healthier, more positive, and more able to engage in an increasingly complex and complicated world can only be good for us.
Yeah.
It's not really harm.
Yeah. And when you
more things to draw on.
Absolutely.
And work with.
Yeah. And now a very modern, hopefully last question is, I think AI is changing a lot, and I have heard that and apparently it works to a degree, that people give in their issues to an AI and it spits out the psychology answer.
I know. I've been told this a lot of people going, like, people I see who've been, AIs analyze their dreams and things.
Yeah. So how do you see, I mean, I have my opinion with regards to hypnotherapy, but how do you see the future? AI will exist, and I think it's a tremendous tool. Do you think that is the modality of psychology or hypnosis practices threatened by this?
I don't believe so, because I think that there's nothing that replaces the presence of another in terms of healing and help. And so, yes, you may get analytical, logical answers, and they may or may not be accurate. I mean, everybody's an individual, so it's all going to be different. But there's something about being in the presence of another that in and of itself helps and heals.
Okay. And the last statement from your side, before I say goodbye, if you had one message out there into this world that is so chaotic and fast and energetically loaded, and it's not letting up, it's probably next year is going to be even stronger, what would be one message from your heart out to the world? What would you like the world to know?
That we are beings of infinite possibility, and there are many times that life can get very hard and very complicated, but we also have all the resources within us, with help, of course, to be able to access them, to be able to cope with life. and that there really is hope. We don't have to sit and suffer always, however difficult things may be.
Perfect. Beautiful. To leave this with a message of hope, and that your mind is powerful and you can work with it is wonderful. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That was amazing.